there, Hillary here for Waterlogged on behalf of Saltwater Aquarium. As you can see, I am at the ORA aquaculture facilities where we're gonna go meet Donna and Jordan, and they're gonna show us around the facility and we're gonna learn about the operations here. So let's go check it out.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. It's been years in the making for sure. I'm really glad you were finally able to make your way over here and kind of tour our facility.
Yes.
Kind of get an immersive deep dive into all things ORA.
Yes. So I guess let's start out. Where are we at right now? Because this is a very large area.
It is. So we are actually in the largest land-based aquaculture coral greenhouse. So roughly our greenhouse is about the size of a professional football field.
Holy cow.
So it is quite large. We run 4 independent systems in this greenhouse. You'll kind of note those by each of their sumps, which we also grow coral in. All under natural daylight, no artificial lighting here, even at night.
Wow.
So they're under a natural day-night cycle.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start here.
All right, that's a lot of frag plugs.
We actually reuse them when we can, just kind of be environmentally friendly, not be wasteful. So these are actually not a standard plastic. They're pretty indestructible. We've had emails where people have called them diamonds of frag plugs because they are indestructible. But each of these actually fits snugly inside of our egg crate.
Oh, okay.
And what that does is it keeps everything in place because our surge devices here would just create so much flow that a standard plug inside egg crate would just topple everything over.
Now, I've got to ask, so I know a bunch of aquarists that use egg crate in their tanks. Is this the standard? Is there different sizes of egg crate, or is this pretty standard, what you would see?
So not many people know it, but egg crate, there's a thick side and a thin side.
Okay.
So our coral plugs fit snugly in one side and not so much in the other. And by snugly, if anybody knows like the Dairy Queen blizzard, like you could tip over our egg crate and shake it and
Wow.
they will stay put. Yeah, exactly. So we do the plugs for most of our corals, and then our soft corals, like our zoanthids and our sinularia, are put on aragonite kind of bases. From Carib Sea, they actually send it over in giant pallets.
Wow.
We mix it all up, and then it takes, I think, about 30 days to fully cure, and it takes our crew about 10 hours to create like 200 of them.
So, you know, I don't see any power heads in here. How do you guys manage the flow?
So we actually use these surge devices. A lot of people know about them in the industry. There's been plenty of videos on them. We use essentially one pump. We siphon the water on each end. As the water comes up, the siphon breaks, and then it pushes the water through. I think the timing between each of them is about 30 seconds, and it creates tons and tons of flow, kind of like a gyre between each side. So we actually have 4 sumps. Each of these sumps is connected to just a quarter of our greenhouse.
Okay.
I think it's roughly 20 to 25,000 gallons that we are running through this building. Yeah, so there's tons of fish. It's either rehomed fish from, you know, employees who have worked here. The fish have outgrown their systems. We bring them in here to kind of live out their days in paradise, and I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a coral greenhouse?
So for the longest while, at least when I was beginning in the hobby, I thought of ORA as fish, but you guys have lots of coral. How many different species of coral do you guys have to offer?
So I believe the number is around 150,
Wow.
Not all in production at one given time, but roughly 150 throughout our production.
That's pretty impressive.
So that goes from like our soft corals to our hard corals, the beginner corals that kind of get you really excited about the hobby, to like the intermediate and even like the experienced corals, you know. I think one of my very first corals, aside from green star polyps, of course, was actually a Galaxia coral. And it's one that you don't really see too often in your local fish stores anymore, but it's a really awesome coral. And then, you know, you have your bird's nest and your stylophoras, which are kind of like that beginner SPS, you know, when you're really starting to get into SPS corals, getting into that stick fever.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, I think the stylophoras and the bird's nest offer the most variety and coloration, as well as best chances of success starting out with sticks. And then, of course, you have the Space Invader Pectinia, which is a beast. It certainly is an aggressive coral, and you kind of got to know what you're doing. So mostly what we grow out in our sumps are going to be our encrusting or our plating corals, just because of the amount of space that they do take up. Everything else in our smaller kind of trough systems are going to be those plugs that you typically see from us.
Okay.
In here we have a number of chalices, Cephastria, we have our Space Invader. We do have some grow outs of our giant Gigas clam, as well as the hybrid Maximus squamosa clam from our Marshall Island facility. This clam here is our Gigas clam, and it's, I think, about 2.5, maybe going on 3 years old right now. So that started out as a 2.5-inch clam, and now it's probably 12, 13 inches.
Holy cow. So we're over here at another one of the sumps, and I gotta say that this is the largest clam. The colors on it are incredible.
Yeah, so, you know, natural sunlight. I mean, everybody runs a lot of blues these days in their aquariums because they really want to highlight the coloration. But I think there's a misconception that you don't get that same kind of coloration under full spectrum. I mean, we run everything under natural daylight, and I mean, clearly you can see that this is bright green, bright orange, blue, yellow, kind of brings out the coloration tenfold. So these are our sunshades. During certain periods of time throughout the year, we'll have more exposure to the sun than others. Right now we're starting to get into our summer season, so it's going to be very, very bright, very hot in here. Our sunshades, essentially just like sunscreen to us, protect our corals. We do have corals placed in different portions of the greenhouse, and we monitor those by eye. We don't have anything that is automated in that sense.
Okay.
So all of our greenhouse technicians walk these troughs every day. They determine whether or not they're getting the lighting they need, the flow that they need, and they can adjust that as necessary. If one particular coral looks fantastic coloration-wise and growth, they'll start to stage out more coral of that variety in that trough as opposed to the other ends of the greenhouse to accommodate for the favor of light that it's receiving. And it can, just like in nature, bleach the corals out if there's too much PAR and too much light.
You know, so many times we tell hobbyists, and you know, over the years, so much of what we do is paying attention and
Correct.
just spending time observing. Like you can tell so much just by watching things.
Absolutely. So like our red planet is one specifically that you may see come on and off of our list at times, and it's because it goes through such a wild color variation in the winter. It actually turns more of a green, where like a historic, you know, quintessential red planet is green at the base, vibrant red. During the winter, it turns more green. And everybody wants a red planet because it's red.
That's fair. So are these, all of the frags have the same parent? They're all the same genetics?
Correct. So most of what you see here are kind of mini colonies. We don't grow anything out into full-on giant colonies that we then kind of frag out. What we focus on is microfragmentation, fragging of frags, of frags, of frags. You know, some of the corals in this coral greenhouse have been in production since the 80s.
Wow.
So our Stuber stag has been in this coral greenhouse and really in production since I think the early 2000s, but its original aquaculture kind of background is from the mid 80s.
That's impressive. So in addition to the corals that you guys sell, you guys also offer mangroves, right?
We do. So similarly to our corals, they go through kind of seasonal fluctuations. So right now we're getting into season where the propagules are starting to form on the trees, and as soon as those start to drop, we can collect those from all of the mango trees that we have here planted on campus.
Oh, okay.
And then we grow them out here, and we offer them in the propagules, which are going to be essentially the seed pods with the roots starting to form. Or we do the sprouted mangroves, which are essentially a full kind of mangrove ready to plant in your refugium. So we're lucky to be able to kind of offer these in an aquaculture sense.
All right, that's gonna do it for this video, but stay tuned for the next video where Donna's gonna take us over to the hatcheries and we can check things out. This has been Hillary and Donna for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching.